Good evening and welcome to the rest of the news. We have a really important program to give you today, and our special guest is Rick Howland. Good to see you, Rick. Appreciate
Dr.
you
Simon, how are
helping
you?
us out.
Thank you so much for inviting me. You know, I enjoy myself when I come out here. So,
Well, good. America is in trouble.
Yeah.
And in more trouble than I think we've ever been is in my lifetime that I can remember.
This is the most, and it seems like I've been saying this every year since probably 1992. This is the most critical presidential election we've ever had.
Yeah.
And every year it's that way, whether we've been successful as president or not. We're always on the verge of liberalism taking us further toward the abyss if we lose the election. And this year's is really no exception. This presidential cycle is no exception.
Right.
In fact, this is the most critical because we've had 8 years of just pure liberal abandon.
Yeah.
Straight at the cliff. And if we have another 4, this lady will take us over. Hillary will take us over because she is an avowed socialist. She's a mentee of Saul Alinsky. She believes in his philosophy, and I know people see her as being, because she's a regular politician, they think there's something moderate about her, but she has never been moderate.
You know, that reminds me of this DVD that we'd like to send to everybody. It's called, by Pastor Robert Jeffress.
I mean, just think about the prophets of the Old Testament, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, or think about the New Testament, John the Baptist, or even Jesus himself. They didn't just talk to God's own people. They were willing to confront ungodly leaders and an ungodly culture and say without stuttering or stammering, "Thus saith the Lord." It is time for God's men and women to stand up and to say boldly and compassionately, but without hesitation, it is time for us to say to this ungodly culture, abortion is murder. Homosexuality is a perversion of God's plan. There are not many ways to God. There is only one way to God, through faith in Jesus Christ. It is time for us to confront the culture.
And he's the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Dallas, Texas. And he has a tremendous sermon, and we've got just part of it on here, but it's 7 minutes of pure dynamite. And he, like you were saying, he said, you know, in, I think it was 2012, there were something like 40 million Christians, and only half of them registered to vote. And of those that were registered, only half of them voted. So he says, if all the Christians would unite and rise up and do what God has called us to do, then we could make this one nation under God.
Right. There's nothing wrong constitutionally. This idea of separation of church and state, meaning that nobody can, Christians don't get they don't get to pass laws out of the Bible. This is not a theocracy. I've heard all of that. But Christians are citizens, and we do get to vote.
Yeah.
We do get to sponsor legislation just like any secular individual does, just like any Hindu does, or anyone else of any religion.
Right.
Sikh, Hindu, Islam, pagan, Satanist, anybody that is an American,
that's right,
gets to vote, and everyone is going to vote based upon what their moral, their moral code is, and ours is a biblical code. So, why should it be any more egregious if Christians vote and want to influence legislation than it would be for an unbeliever to vote and influence legislation? That's not a normative position just because they don't believe in anything.
Brother Jeffress goes into that, and he says, you know, in the Bible, the king was imposed on the people.
Yeah.
They didn't get a chance to say one way or the other. But if it was a good king, God blessed the nation.
Right.
And if it was a bad king, God cursed the nation.
Right.
So he says, he quotes the John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, and he says it's the privilege and the duty of Christians to vote and to vote in Christian Bible-believing people. So that's what, you know, the first Chief Justice of the United States, John Jay, said.
All he was doing was pointing out the obvious.
Right.
You know, that if you have the opportunity under our Constitution to pick your leadership.
Right.
And if you believe, and if you're a Christian and you want leadership that you can trust and believe in, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that John Jay would say you should vote in Christian leadership.
Exactly.
I think if the main religion of America then had been
Hindu or something,
Hindu or Santeria or something else, he would have said, you have go on and vote in pick out somebody from your religion, your religious faith. You have that right. You have that option.
And the other thing he says on this DVD, if somebody gives you a hard time and says, "Oh, you shouldn't be voting. You should just let the country go off the cliff and be taken over," he says, what you need to do is you need to ask them 3 questions. Number 1, do you think God cares at all about the fact that the valedictorians in this country are threatened with a jail sentence if they mention Jesus? He says, do you think that he cares at all about that? Or does he care that the crosses are being torn off of all the war memorials in this country? He says, do you think God cares about that? And he says, what about all of these millions of babies that are being aborted? Do you think God cares about that killing of the most innocent people on the planet?
Do you think he has an opinion?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if they answer yes to any one of those 3 questions, then you've got your answer about whether or not Christians should be involved in politics.
Right. This dawned on me years ago when I was a bus driver, when I was a brand new Christian. There's all the other forms of government that exist. I won't say all anymore, but most of the governments in the world are not governments where the citizens get to do much more than participate in rubber stamping whatever the leadership gives.
Right.
And America, now you do have in Western civilization, since America was founded, you've got a lot of European countries that are following some form of some style of republic, where citizens do get to vote. But at one point, just about everywhere in the world, it was a despot of some kind, or a dictator, or a fascist of some kind that was running things.
And that's where we're headed.
And we're not careful. But in America, all of a sudden, out of the blue, this form of government showed up, where the citizens get to pick their leadership, and they get to pick them up. They get to pick them periodically.
Yeah.
So if a guy's in for a while, he doesn't get to be in forever and damage you for a lifetime. He only gets to mess it up for 3 or 4 years or 2 years, depending on what the position is.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity. If God gave us an opportunity to choose our leadership, then I think God is holding us responsible for the leadership that ends up getting chosen. And if we allow bad leadership above us, then we actually deserve what we get.
Okay, there are 4 Bible verses that come to mind about how God in the Bible talks about Christians need to be in the salt of the earth.
Right.
They need to be a preservative against evil that's would otherwise come against our country.
And they also need to make things taste better.
Right.
And it's not just preserving things, but it's also improve the taste.
Yeah, and have an influence on our culture.
On the entire culture.
Not just in the church,
right.
But you need to get out in the culture and speak up on the issues.
I remember even when I was coming up, even people that chose to be lawbreakers had certain respect for certain parts of the culture.
Yeah.
If you weren't involved in their lifestyle, other than maybe rip you off, they weren't walking around looking to commit murder on you.
Yeah.
They usually, it was when they were committing murder, it was against people that are in the business. It was business,
Yeah.
Now we have because as we become more and more secular, and the influence of having a morality, having a sense of something, of having a limit to what you'll do.
Yeah.
That is no longer communicated to so many people anymore that are not believers. And so you have wanton lawlessness.
Yeah.
Where you didn't have wanton lawlessness for maybe up until about the last 40 years.
Well, look at this whole idea of taking prayer out of the public schools.
Mm-hmm.
If, that's been a turning point downward in our country when they took prayer out of the public schools. And really, it's up to us to put prayer back in the public schools where it was since the founding fathers. And that's an example of what happens if people do not.
My mother was a teacher in 62. I was 15, and I remember she was very upset. In those days, I was political, but I wasn't really paying attention to the Supreme Court and all of that like I do now. And she was very upset when that Supreme Court decision came down, where, what's her name, Murray.
Madeline Murray.
Madeline Murray O'Hara won her case in the Supreme Court. That virtually took prayer out of schools, and really it's been interpreted by the ACLU, and they are able to make everybody afraid to the point where you have high school public school administrators and teachers all over the country terrified to even maybe show up with a Bible on their desk. But my mother's concern was, when we're telling these children how they need to act and how they must act in order to be good citizens, what do we tell them when we tell them it's right? We can't mention God and tell them that there's a supreme being from which all of these rules, that these good rules that we're recommending to you come from. They're going to look and say, I get to make up my own rules. This is just your idea. It's not. And if you can't tell them it's not my idea, it's what I believe God says. And then if they want to know what God is, then you can explain it to them. But you can't do that anymore in school. So we have so many young people over the years since 1962. We have turned out year after year and year after year more and more secularized students.
And everything is suffering from that.
Right. From since 1962, what is that? 52 years of classrooms where children have been generated more and more every year, more and more secular than the year before.
Well, now, I want you to give us a call right now, and we'll send you this DVD. Just call 893-2444, and this is the DVD by the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Dallas. Now, we've got a couple of other things we want to bring up about this whole issue, and one of them is a song we're going to. And I'm thankful for the ones who died for the old red, white, and blue. And when they try and take our rights away, I'll stand and proudly tell them no, it ain't gonna happen, 'cause I'll stand up and say so. And that's kind of what we need to do, is stand up.
Right. I like that.
That is a tremendous song about, he's saying they're not going to take the Ten Commandments out of the courtroom lawn, and they're not going to I believe the Bible and all of that. So that's a
Amen.
very inspirational song, I think. Now, we also have another song, you know, saying we ought to be involved in politics. And this one is called Stand Up. And
I like this one, really.
This one has...
This is the Gatlin brothers.
Yeah. And this one came from...
old guys like me.
And he's talking about a movie.
Yeah. Hillary's America.
Yeah.
So sick and tired of listening to what you got to say. I decided I just got to stand up and say so. Sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being treated this way.
Okay, now we've got one final song that we want to show you.
The Gatlins again.
Yeah, the Gatlins again. And the name of this song is I'm an American with a Remington.
I like that.
'Cause I'm an American with a Remington. Yours truly, an American with a Remington.
Okay, so those are 3 inspirational songs. Now, what those songs do is make you want to register to vote. Now, this is a voter registration card.
Amen.
And we'll send you one of these too. Maybe you're registered, but maybe you know somebody or a relative that is not registered to vote. Well, that may be the winning vote, that one vote. So you need to get this voter registration card and the DVD, and we'll send them both to you. And the number to call is 893-2444. Now, I've got one other thing here that I want to show you. This says voter registration.
Yeah.
And this is what every church needs to have, is voter registration. Doesn't matter if you're Methodist or Baptist or Catholic or apostolic or whatever you are, we need to have voter registration in every church.
Yes.
Because otherwise we won't have freedom of religion.
We need to have people voting.
Yes.
And we need to train ourselves to vote, not for our best interests.
Right.
But vote for the interests of the kingdom of God if you're a Christian. Now, if you're not a Christian, vote any way you want. But,
right.
This is America.
Yeah.
But if you're a Christian, you have an obligation. If you're a child of the King, at least if you vote against his interests, you ought to know who it is you're opposing.
Right.
I try to vote based on who I think has the best character and integrity and will make decisions based on biblical principle.
Right.
Doesn't mean we'll always agree, but at least I want to know that the person is trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong.
Now, Brother Jeffers says we need to vote not for Democrat values or Republican values, but biblical values.
Yes.
That's what's going to get the job done, biblical values. And that's all in this DVD. And you need to get this and show it to a lot of your friends, show it in church, show it in your Sunday school class. Everybody needs to see this because it's all Bible. And we need to get back to the Bible. That's a lot of our problem. We've gotten away from the Bible.
Exactly.
So give us a call, 893-2444, 893-2444, and you can call right this minute. And if nobody's there, there'll be an answering machine, and you can just leave your name, spell your name and address, and leave your phone number, and we'll get that out to you right away. Because, we are in a desperate situation. We need God back in America. And we've got to vote to get God back in.
Look, I've been saying this for years. 2 Chronicles 7:14, and it didn't start with me. I got it from Dr. Lowry that used to come on Praise the Lord PTL program back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He's passed away, but he used to always talk about 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Yes.
And if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, okay, and turn from their wicked way, I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Now, people are running around here talking about we need to be unified.
Yeah.
And people are saying that based on race. They're saying that based on complexion. They're saying that based on their political persuasion, their political party, whatever it is. What Jesus says, what God says, is that if my people who are called by my name, he says unify, but he says not around your wicked way.
Yeah.
Turn from your wicked way and seek my face. And that's when unity will kick in. He will hear from heaven. He will forgive us of our sins, and he will heal our land. But it's based on our unity. Whatever unity you're talking about, it better be around the things of God. You better not think just because you unifying around your complexion, whether it be white or black,
or about your party,
or about your party.
Yeah.
And if we can unite around that about his face, he'll come and fix whatever it is we're dissatisfied, and whatever our point of view is, and whatever our wicked way is. He'll fix. He'll either give us what the best parts of it, and he'll get rid of the rest.
Well,
but we have his promise.
Yeah, you mentioned wicked ways, and some people may say, well, I haven't done anything wicked. But the thing is, we were on our time when God got kicked out of the public schools.
Mm-hmm.
And
we sat back and let it happen.
And we let it happen.
Our wicked way was to sit back and let it happen.
That's right. So some of you, well, I vote. Well, that's not enough to just vote. You need to study the candidates. You need to hand out the voter guides, and you need to help the Christian candidates, donate to their cause. Mm. We need to do a lot of things, and we haven't done enough, and we're all guilty.
Most people don't pay attention to the politics until about now, 2 months before the election in November. And then they say, well, who gave us these jokers?
Yeah.
Why are we always voting for the lesser of two evils?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of the time, the party that's out of office, especially on the national level, if they're out of office, that means they're running several candidates.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, sometimes as many as 10 or 12. This year, Republicans had 17 candidates. And a bunch of those guys are not evil.
Yeah.
Those men and women are not evil.
That's right.
But because nobody pays attention, they it's a little too early. They start this so early. Yeah. They start running it 2 years ahead of time. Well, because it's a serious situation, people are running earlier and earlier because they see the importance of these elections now. When I was a kid, election, it wasn't as important. There wasn't as big a difference between Democrats and Republicans when it came to issues concerning the survival of the country.
Right.
But now there's a big difference between Democrats and Republicans. There's a difference of whether we live under fascism or dictatorship, or whether we live as free men in a Republican form of government.
Right.
Under a democratic republic where we get to elect our leaders, and we get to influence them. We get to treat them as employees and not as vassals.
Right.
We're the bosses. They work for us. But under a socialist form of government, we become the property of the government.
Listen, are you running? Someone told me you're running for public office.
Yes, I am. In the 42nd Legislative District against Reginald Meeks, and did pretty well. The last time I tried in 2014, I got 12% of the vote, from what I understand, which is more than any other Republican, because no other Republican had run against Reginald Meeks. So I'm number one, guys. And I think that's pretty good, actually.
Actually, I think you're right.
Excuse me. So be looking for me, Rick Howland. I'm the Black Heart Conservative on 970 AM The Answer, every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And I help Pastor Jerry Stevenson co-host his radio program, the Values Coalition USA program, on WLLV 1240 on the AM dial, 10:30 to 11:30 Monday through Friday, and 10:30 to 11:30 AM in the morning, Monday through Friday. And Pastor Stevenson as well, and his program is doing well. His school, his after school program for tutoring children, his Village Learning Center, is really doing great. And I think Democrats there are more and more African Americans who have opened their eyes to the games that the Democrat Party has been playing on us for the last 50 years. And it's not a lock like it was.
Yeah.
It's not the lock. Now, is it a lot of us? I wouldn't surprise me if 10 or 12% of us
vote biblical values.
Yeah, vote biblical values.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm having trouble with congestion, as you can see. Well, this hay fever you got to help me, Doc. You're the allergist in the room. Okay. You got to fix me.
Well, now, don't forget, I want to have you call right away, and we want to get you this DVD of Pastor Jeffress from the First Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. He makes a lot of good points. And the other thing is this voter registration. Every church needs to do voter registration. We'll send you the sign. Mm-hmm. We'll send you the cards. We'll send you everything you need to do a voter registration. It's very easy. And we need God-fearing people voting. There's only about half of them that are voting. So we need to really do our best to turn our country back to God and get the Christian, God-fearing people voting biblical values. Amen. And the number to call to get all of this material is 893-2444. And you can call right now, and we'll get it out to you right away. If no one is there, just leave your name, spell your name and address, and leave your phone number on the answering machine, and we'll get it right out. Well, we're about out of time, but I really appreciate this. Has been a very good program.
Thank you, Doc.
How do you like those songs?
Oh, I love them, especially the Gatlin brothers. They are, I remember all the gold in California. If I could remember the words, I'd do the chorus for you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. God bless you, and tune in again next week for the rest of the news.
Good night. God bless you.